let's say that you have a team and the volunteers on that team, they don't have just a typical kind of every other week schedule or every third week schedule or anything that repeats with any kind of regularity. And so really what it is it's a team, and each volunteer on that team might have their own unique or in some sense random serving schedule. A good example of this would be worship teams. So I'll show you how to handle scheduling something like that. So I've got my demo worship team here, and we got Paul is our worship leader. So I've already created this team, but I'm going to show you how to actually do the schedule for it. You might have a number of people in the case of a worship team that that all have the same role. Like you might have 3 or 4 different electric guitarists or a couple of worship leaders, so on and so forth. And so the first thing that we're going to want to do is that we want to add everybody who could possibly be on that team to the roster. So let's click on roster. And so we'll say that Bill is a backup electric for Sunday morning, and so is Chris. And we'll just add a few. Chip, make him a worship leader as well. Les is going to be lead guitar. We'll have 3 potential lead guitarists in this case, and then Quentin will run sound, and Chris will also be a sound guy. You may have other positions. This should be sufficient to kind of show us here, but you probably likely will have like bass and keys. Well, I'll add a couple bassists in there. Mo Lobster, definitely a bassist. Okay, so now I'm just going to take us back to the regular team view. And so now we see that we have this group of individuals that any given Sunday morning, Chris or Bill is going to be on backup electric, so on and so forth. So this is kind of our potential pool of worship team members in this case. So what we're going to do is, we're not going to schedule these guys with every other rotation. We don't necessarily know that Bill and Chris are going to be every other week from each other. So we're going to go ahead and click on schedule, and then we're going to create a volunteer-based schedule. Okay, and so what you'll see here is that the areas that are represented, it looks at the roster of the team, and it says, hey, I see that there's a unique position called backup electric. Now there are two backup electrics, but in the area you see it's just going to show like one representation for each like specific serving role or serving area. I'm going to go back into that. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to create a schedule. And so we're just going to start adding a few dates here. And we click on this plus, and you can make this date be literally any date that you want. Whatever date you start with here, it's going to automatically just add 1 week to it just by convention. So you can see this is this is 7/15. This is a week later, 7/22. And so I can make these dates be anything that they want. This can be 7/15. This can be 7/17. It doesn't matter. But let's just make these the next couple of Sundays that we have coming up. Okay. And I'll do one more date, 7/28. All right, so here's how this is going to work. So if you're a worship leader in this case, you're looking at your schedule and say, well, who do I want to be on? Oh, see, I got the wrong worship leader. I made Team Blue Sky. Should have been a Sunday morning as well. But anyways, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to select which people I want. So I might have Bill be on for 7:14. He might also be on 7:21, but then on 7:28, Chris is going to be on. Um, Mo might be on 7:14. Hardy Har will be on the next two. Frito might be playing lead every week this month for the rest of this month. Sound, so on and so forth. And if I would have given on the roster, I accidentally made Paul Schwinghammer a Team Blue Sky worship leader. If it would have been Sunday morning worship leader, then Chip and Paul would both be there. So now I'm not going to even select anything for Paul, and you'll see that he doesn't show up on the roster. So let me just hit create schedule. And now we can see our upcoming, 7:14 has already happened, so it's not showing up. Today is the 15th. So, but for 7:21 and 7:28, you can see it generated the schedule just as we told it to.